This is the battlefield where the Molly Pitcher legend supposedly took place. History has given us a nickname, but the actual women, yes plural, whose stories make up the tale are even better than the legend. On June 28, 1778, at the Battle of Monmouth, a woman named Molly Pitcher was hauling water when her husband collapsed at his cannon. She took his place and began blasting away at the British. After the battle, George Washington himself supposedly gave her a medal and an honorary title. It's a great story, but it's a bit of a stretch. Molly was a generic nickname for the Army's water girls. Sort of like how we use the name Karen, but with less insult. The story we know didn't even show up in print until decades after the battle, once every single eyewitness was conveniently dead. Storytellers just mashed together scraps of different women's lives into one tidy, memorable superhero. First, let's get one thing straight. Deborah Sampson has nothing to do with this legend. People just lump her in with it anyway. Why? Because she was a woman who fought, was nicknamed Molly for her beardless face, and frankly, she was a badass. 5'7", taller than most men of her time, she bound her chest in 1782 and enlisted as Robert Shirtliff in the 4th Massachusetts Light Infantry. And she wasn't carrying water. She was leading raids and guarding supply wagons. After taking 2 musket balls in a skirmish at Tarrytown, she was so terrified of being discovered that she dug one ball out of her own thigh with a penknife and a sewing needle. Her secret only came out when later she fell deathly ill with a fever and a doctor discovered her identity while examining her. She was honorably discharged in 1783 and later awarded a military pension from Congress after going through significant struggles to obtain it, including a speaking tour to tell her incredible story, multiple appeals to Congress, and even enlisting the help of Paul Revere. Now for Mary Ludwig Hayes, the woman most often cited as the real Molly Pitcher. Her story is a perfect example of how a real woman's grit gets twisted into something of a cartoon. That scorching hot day on June 28, 1778, at the Battle of Monmouth, Mary was absolutely there. She was a camp follower, one of thousands of women who helped keep the army running, and she spent the morning hauling buckets of spring water to the exhausted gunners. From this point forward, the story of her taking over a cannon is, well, shaky at best. It mostly comes from later accounts. Her own obituary praised her for being an efficient aid to the sick and wounded, but said nothing about firing a cannon. An eyewitness, Private Joseph Plum Martin, did write about a woman whose skirt was torn by a cannonball while helping fire a cannon, who just shrugged it off, but he never named her. This was also in his memoir from 1830, not a journal at the time. And while it is proven to be very reliable in daily life and events, it is also known that he embellished several stories for readability. After the war, when Pennsylvania granted Mary McCauley, her remarried name, a pension, it was for, quote, services during the war, end quote, recognizing the hard, unglamorous work she actually did. If you want a story that's like the Molly Pitcher legend, but more hardcore and actually true, meet Margaret Corbin. Like Mary, Margaret was a camp follower, and in November 1776, she was at Fort Washington with her artilleryman husband, John, when John dropped dead right next to her. Margaret didn't miss a beat. Having helped ferry powder, she grabbed the rammer and kept that cannon firing until she was injured in her left arm, shoulder, and chest. She survived but was permanently disabled. In 1779, well before any other woman, Pennsylvania's Executive Council granted her a lifetime pension, making her the first woman in U.S. history to be officially recognized as a soldier. Known as Captain Molly to her neighbors, she was eventually buried at West Point, the first female veteran to be interred there, although recent DNA tests have shown that the remains there aren't actually hers. These women aren't the only ones that have been overshadowed by the legend of Molly Pitcher. Behind every documented heroine stands a sea of anonymous women. At any given time, Continental Army records listed thousands of female followers. Obviously, I can't cover every single woman that has ties to this legend or whose story has been overshadowed by it. It would make this video probably hours long to do that. But if you know of one that I should cover, let me know. These were the Mollies who lugged water, the washers who boiled filthy shirts, the nurses who scraped gangrene from wounds, and the seamstresses who stitched battle-worn uniforms back together. Most disappear from the official record because officers just logged them without mentioning their names. So-and-so's wife, woman, female, you name it. Their collective, back-breaking labor literally kept the army from collapsing, but the legend of a single hero compresses them all into one vague silhouette. The American Revolution wasn't a boys' club with one token water girl. It was a sprawling rebellion held together by the sweat and sacrifice of thousands of women. Trading these real individuals for one comfortable icon is just lazy. The best way to honor these women isn't to hide them in a legend, but to know their names and celebrate their stories. If you thought these were incredible stories of actual American heroines, check out this video about the inspirational life and incredible sacrifice of Nathan Hale.